Welcome back to your favorite seasonal TFT content creators channel. It's your boy Kai Watanabe, who's been gone for like 2 months because I've been busy working on cool shit. You should check it out, by the way, mentor.gg, no shame. But seriously, I've been gone for a while. I'm sorry. Like the competitive leg was over of the set and it was like 2 months long. The off season's long as fuck now, so that's why I've been gone for like 2 months. But anyways, I'm back, and today we're gonna run it back with nothing else but an oldie but goldie, a VOD review. Oh my god, a Kai Watanabe VOD review in set 17. Dude, we haven't had these since, like, consistently really since like set 9. It's been like a fucking minute. But I am back to do another VOD review just because I feel like it. Why not? And also, this game was super fun. This is actually my gameplay. It says gold 4 at the top, and in case you're watching this in the future, it is the literally first day of the set. Everybody reset down to like fucking silver. So, you know, if you're gonna flame me for my rank, go fuck yourself. Anyways, we're also, by the way, participating in the Box Bootcamp in the Pro Division, so please come check out the stream and help support. Twitch.tv/Watanabe_Kai. Got that shit out of the way. Let's talk about the gameplay itself. And if you haven't been keeping up with the PvE, it's probably really confusing. It's daunting. There's a lot of shit going on. I'm sorry. I get it. Let's talk and let's get you caught up to speed, if you will, all right? Right now, throughout the early game, throughout the stage 1, you're gonna really want to prioritize some important key units, specifically Timebreaker and Primordial units. The reason being is that these units in particular are amazing when it comes to trying to generate that early econ, because when it comes to the early game, if your opener is shit, and a lot of people actually prefer to lose streak because of the way that lose streak works now, you probably want to keep these units so that you have extra econ generated throughout the early game in order to get yourself in a good position later down the line. Now, let's talk about our opener real quick. We have a Lulu 3-cost Stargazer. I believe the Stargazer is like not that good. I think it was the Altar. And then Vanguards on the front line, we have Mordekaiser and Nasus. Ginsu start as well. Crafting, Slightly Magic Roll, and Iron assets. Now, crafting is actually, I think, a kind of underrated augment currently at the moment, just because I don't think people realize like how nice it feels to have it when you have things like Kale, for example, as one of the gods for the realms, from set mechanic, just because you get so many items that you get to craft along with treasure dragging down the line. You're just always finding ways to procure value out of it. Ooh, I used the word procure. Jesus Christ, what a genius this guy. What a noggin on this one. Excuse me. That being said, crafting, great augment to click on, especially in like 5-component openers. But in this game in particular, I don't think it was Kale. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. I don't think it was Kale though, so not the best choice here. Iron assets is just, I think Iron assets is just like a 4.7, 4.9 kind of augment. I think it's fine if you really need to streak early, but like it's super mid compared to just like other augments. Obviously, Slightly Magic Roll is like just the go-to. It was broken last set. It's still broken this set. It's still just a fantastic silver augment. And I think later down the set, you'll probably see a lot of augment rebalancing, because I think it's pretty generally agreed upon in high elo that right now the augment space is just severely unbalanced, especially with 2-1 silvers. I think that's like the biggest like range in terms of like the best to the worst, right? So I would just say, just be careful. Like patience is a virtue versus like iron assets. Like it's not even close. Like, come on. Anyways, going to the augments here, as you can tell, I'm already like hovering over Slightly Magic Roll. Crafting, I am considering it. There's Caretakers and Survivor. I mean, if I really wanted to like BM and like stunt on people, I could try it, but I mean, my opener is terrible, so gonna have to take Slightly Magic Roll here. Caretakers Ally, it's a fine augment. I'm not like the biggest fan of it, but I think it's okay. I am scouting a little bit just to see who and what else is going on here. I end up getting an item and a Reforger. Pretty solid. It's like item grab bag, but just like slightly better. And my opener, generally speaking, actually looks like kind of solid. I'm like scouting lobby, trying to see like what everybody else is playing, but all things considered, I know Lulu as like a 3-cost early game carry is like pretty decent. And I have an upgraded frontline as well, so I'm thinking, you know what, I am just going to slam this strikers onto the Lulu here and then level and try to play for some tempo instead, which again is not very common, especially when you consider like the lose streak mechanic of the set, because right now the lose streak mechanic is severe. It's like I don't want to say it's severely better than win streaking, but it's definitely better than win streaking generally speaking, but everybody is doing it is the problem. So like the problem is that it's relative, right? If everybody in your lobby is trying to like lose streak into yada da da, then you're gonna have a hard time trying to get that 5 loss, trying to play into like Anima, for example. So it can be really easy for your lose streak to be broken, especially when everybody is really conservative about you know, not wanting to level to 4 on 2-1 very often, etc. Especially in high elo, you'll see that like a lot of people are like really being conservative about how often they level on 2-1, just because like they really want to make sure that if they level, they can streak, because if you can't streak, you are so broke, and that is going to become like a really big problem. Here I want to point out something really interesting as well. So in my shop here, I have double Meepsy. Meepsy is a really interesting tank. In the 2-cost space, I really think it's a strong tank. It's one of those tanks that I actually think is like probably stronger than most 2 cost tanks. It feels really strong. I don't know if it's the CC. I don't know if it's just like every time I fought into it, I just had a bad vibe and I was just having some bad luck every time I saw a Meeps on somebody else's board. But I do think that like if you can hold on to Meepsy and play into some like Shepherd stuff eventually, I do think it's really strong. And when you get Shepherded, you just get to have an extra little thing on your board that helps in terms of like what, like combat power, right? In terms of the boons here, we have Yasuo and we have Echo. Yasuo, I would argue, is probably one of the strongest ones right now, especially if you're trying to play into mech. Things like Cryogenic Hex and like, I think it's Solar, the one that stuns. Really strong in that line. So definitely in this lobby, I think people considering mech is going to be something that you're going to want to expect whenever you see Yasuo. Cosmic Hex is definitely one of the worst ones though. I will say it's basically like Wood Hex, if you remember that augment from back in set 16, where essentially you scale your HP as the game continues. It's, in my opinion, just shit. If you're re-rolling, it's actually like decent, but like it's not that good. But from a streaking perspective, I think it's actually a bit hard to consider, like, would you take Yasuo in this spot versus Echo, right? Echo scales, you get that artifact later down the line, which is amazing, but I am specifically trying to win streak here, right? And actually, if someone told me here I took the wrong god here, I actually would not be surprised here. I end up taking the artifact, spoilers. But if you took Cosmic here, just because you knew you needed just that little bit of extra combat power in the early game, just to make sure that you maintain your streak, I think it's fine. I did scout here and I scouted the strongest people in the lobby just to see if I think I could streak. And I thought I could, but it's a little bit more risky than just taking the Yasuo boon and just making sure I have an extra 10% HP on my, like, whoever tank, or like my main tank, if you will, excuse me. Here I do notice that, like, even though I do think Lulu is a stronger unit individually than a Lissandra 1, I do think that the straights just work like a little bit better. My board is just like slightly stronger if I move my items from a Lulu 1 onto the Lissandra here. And now my board, I can't lie, it's lacking a lot of damage. Ginsu does help with the scaling because I have such a beefy front line, which is great. But I will say that this spot is now looking a little bit dicier than it was before. And like, again, the Lulu was kind of like the saving grace of it, but like, look at this drop, by the way. Holy fuck. Mordekaiser 2, Meepsy 2. My board is so strong here. You can see I prioritize the Meepsy here because, again, I think it's just still so strong. But I don't have damage. And damage is sort of the thing that I am truly lacking here in this spot, which is something that is really concerning. I make sure I position here to position against the strong side here. And I'm fighting against some guy with the Space Groove Emblem, which, by the way, one of the strongest +1s currently outside of, like, I think it's better than Nova Emblem, to be honest. But it's still, especially Nova Emblem got nerfed. But still, like insta-take emblem if you ever find it. But we secure the 5 streak, which is fantastic. Going into neutrals here as well, I am pretty broke here because, again, I do have a lot of upgraded units, but on top of that, I do have a lot. I was leveling like early and aggressively, so I was getting like my econ getting fucked over. As you can tell, like if you scout the lobby, everybody has like at least like 30 gold, or like their economy is looking like fantastic. But me over here sitting here jerking off like 30-ish gold here, not looking in the best of spots. Here I end up with a chain glove and a belt, which is not the greatest combination of items here. I just want to talk about this real quick. Right now in my head, I'm really thinking playing into like LeBlanc. It's sort of like the premier forecast like line, if you will, when it comes to AP, especially if I have a Ginsu's, because she loves Ginsu's, like one of her like crucial like items that you must have. But I am thinking like I might as well slam the Sunfire here if I absolutely must, just because I will have to eventually try to like streak. Like if I fight this guy with a Poppy Hero Augment, right, I'm worried that like I might lose. I stomped his ass, but like it's possible I could lose here, so it's a little hard to tell, especially in like the early set and like fight judging. So I just slam here just to make sure things are okay. Exiles, You Have My Bow, Advanced Load are the 3-2 augments, which, by the way, I just want to talk about this real quick. I think You Have My Bow is such a terrible fucking augment. I don't know how this is getting printed as a gold augment, in my opinion. I just think it's fucking awful. I don't know if Bow is that much, like, it's so necessary in lines nowadays, because, like, the max cap, like, Vex, for example, likes Ginsu's, and Jin, like, I could use Ginsu's, and Zaya's, like, shit unit, but she's good, then she likes Ginsu's, and, like, LeBlanc likes Ginsu's, blah, 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 blah. A lot of units like Ginsu's, in case you didn't know. But still, it's not a gold augment. It's a bow. 12% attack speed and a bow. No shot. Anyways, I don't think you could ever click on this augment, to be completely honest with you. But you have Exiles and Advanced Loan as well. Now, I'm thinking here, I'm on streak and I want to keep my streak going, but the problem is right now, my biggest lack right now is damage. I actually really need damage. Advanced Loan is like really kind of like what, like Exiles or Advanced Loan is one of the two I'm really leaning here. The problem is that my damage is so low that even if I take something like Exiles and I'm able to get into OT in a lot of these fights, I don't have enough damage to really pump it out. So I'm actually really thinking like maybe I should take Advanced Loan here and just give up on the streak here. Regardless, you gotta roll 2 here just because 2 is just so awful, and I can construct the companion. Oh baby, this is when the spice kicks up a notch for a second here, because I'm thinking, wow, construct a companion. I don't know if this augment is necessarily that good, to be completely honest with you, but I'm thinking here, if I construct a companion and it's like a 3-star 1 cost for my backline as a carry, that could work. That actually solves my damage problem. And I'm actually thinking, wow, instead of these, I could actually go with this instead. And I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of interesting. Let me roll the other ones. Let me see, because at this point, like, this actually solves my damage problem. So let's roll the other two. As construct a companion, and we're looking at our spot here. Who do we take? Do we take Caitlyn? Do we take Ezreal? Or do we take Talon? And based off my itemization here, even though, yeah, Caitlyn is technically speaking the better Ginsu holder, I do end up going with the Ezreal instead, because I do think that Ezreal specifically can actually do better in the long term. Reason being is that if you don't know what his spell does, it essentially scales over time. I believe every 8 takedowns he gets like a drone, which increases his damage, so he gets stronger as the game progresses. And in my head, I'm also thinking, you might not know this, snipers with the right setup can actually do some incredible stuff. And actually, if you look at my match history, I only went first with snipers actually the whole day. There's a sniper variation that I think is a little bit slept on. The Stargazer one was sort of like the big one that everybody was kind of remembering, which if you don't know, back in like the early parts of the PvE, Stargazer Jhin was sort of like the go-to max cap comp, if you will. But then Jhin got nerfed and stuff got shifted, and now Vex is like the big 9 to 5. Like, if you watch Boasian's stream, he does a lot of Vex Bard. That's like the sort of go-to max cap at the moment. But Jhin can still do a lot of really good stuff. And there's a variation of Jhin that I think is a bit underplayed, which, as you can see, actually, if you go back here in my team planner, you can actually see it here. There's like it's not necessarily a fast 9 Jhin, I would say. I think you have to play from the right spots. Like, for example, like aura farming Jhin, or like Yad, or like spot like this, for example, is like something that could work. But basically, like, it's a board that can work because Ezreal and like just Timebreaker just gets you so much econ throughout the early game. But also, like, Nunu is just a strong tank. Tahm Kench can help you print out units. And you also get to have Riven, who is just a fantastic forecast at the moment. Can't do a lot by yourself as a solo carry, but fantastic duo carry, just to have in any comp. That being said, here going into 3-4, we have Acceleration, Hex, or 2 5-cost champions. And again, I need this Ezreal to scale. Right now, I got this boy at 3-2. It's a little bit late. So I do want to make sure that, well, it's not that late, to be honest. It's actually a little bit early. But I do want to make sure that he's actually scaling. So it's pretty much a no-brainer. Going to go with the Yasuo here for God of the Abyss for the Acceleration Hex, just to get 30% attack speed onto the Ezreal. That being said, it is also an IE as well, which is great because now my Ezreal itemization just looks pretty nifty. There's actually a lack of base AD, which is like the only problem about this build. But honestly, like a crit build for like an Ezreal 3, it's honestly good enough for now. It's strong enough that it'll get the job done. I end up thinking about putting Timebreaker on my board, but Timebreaker doesn't actually provide any sort of value in terms of combat. It's only really just the money. So I believe I elect to play the Samira instead, just to make sure I get 3 Space Regrowth plus Sniper. Or I threw into the Lysandra, I don't remember. It might have been the Darkstar. It might have been for Darkstar. But Darkstar is nice because you just get like an 8% execute. Super chill. Also helps just to clear the board, and that's why I'm not playing Timebreaker here. You can also see that's why also, like, because of the stuff that's in my planner, I was also like thinking like, okay, maybe I want to hold on to the Talon because I know Talon eventually gets on there if I want to play like the Riven and stuff on my board. But generally speaking, I'm just like kind of like flexing things around here, trying to see like what exactly is the strongest. I'm thinking maybe Galio is honestly like a call here to put on my board instead of like the Darkstar. I wasn't actually too sure. I just don't know how good an itemless like Galio is going to be when I already have Meepsy 2 on my board, who is doing so much work for me. But on top of that, just getting that Darkstar execute for the Ezreal, just to make sure that like he can actually help take stuff down and start stacking, I just felt was like so much better. So anyways, we end up finding the Samira 2 here. We finally get our artifact on 3-7. We end up finding a light shield, which is incredible, all things considered. We did have a lot of reforges, which we were saving for the artifact, but luckily we high rolled the tank one, which is honestly all that we could really ask for. Not looking for anything else in particular from a spot like this. Gnar is in the shop here as well. I think I considered like buying it, but I wasn't entirely sure. But I mean, I guess you could consider it as well. But generally speaking, again, we're just like trying to like flex things in and out, just trying to see what the strongest board is. I ended up putting in Voyager, which is sort of like strategist, if you will, for this set. It's like a damage amp for like the backline and a little bit, I believe it's shielding. I waited for the fight to start to say that. I believe it's shielding for your frontline as well. So it's honestly nice, but with Voyager and Sniper, I have a fuck ton of damage amp. I just don't have that much base AD to multiply it off of. So like, again, this build, even though I do have an IE strikers against it and I am win streaking, if I had a DB instead of this IE though, I'm fucking clearing everybody and their mother. It's not even close. But unfortunately, I don't. So it's getting the job done though. Anyways, Misfits, Mace's Will, side effects. Misfits, I just don't think is that good of an augment in general. I don't know why it feels a bit lackluster. So I ever since like the PvE cycles ended, I just feel like this augment has not been that great. So I'm not looking into this at all. Side effects, if you have a comp that your like side effect sounds really good in, let me know. But right now, I'm not sold on side effects at all. But maybe it's a good one. I just underrate it enough. But anyways, I'm kind of thinking of Mace's Will right now. The only reason is just because it's a little bit of extra combat power, right? You get 8% attack speed, 20% crit chance, but also you also get the glove as well, which is nice because I actually don't have Sunder on my board at the moment, which I thought was a really big problem. And I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Even though I can't make a Last Whisper right now, it's something I could work towards, and I think that's honestly probably more than enough. Yes, Glass Cannon is a significant amount of damage amp, but I do think that like just being able to make sure that I can secure Sunder at some point without having to spend like $1,000 at Treasure Dragon is going to be really important. So here I end up rolling, I end up leveling to 8 just because I am on streak here, but I am just trying to figure out like, okay, is there something I can put on my board that makes a lot of sense here? I end up fighting the Maokai 2 here, which I do value significantly higher than the Meepsy stuff, so I end up selling the Voyagers. And then surprisingly enough, I was just rolling for like one bruiser, but then we hit the Nunu double pair in the shop, so we end up getting Nunu 2 here. So we have a 4 Vanguard, 3 Sniper board that we're working with now. Not necessarily anywhere close to the original board that we had in mind, but honestly, it is doing fantastic work here. So I mean, it is possible here that like I am supposed to like drop the Samira 2 and then just play like the Talon instead to get 3 Stargazer on the board. But again, because it's altar and like you have to like, sacrifice units to get like the full value out of the trade and stuff, I was just like, you know what, it's not worth the headache, and especially just putting a Talon on my board, don't want to do that. So I'm just going to be sticking with the 3 snipers instead, and it's a very just chill 3 sniper 4 Vanguard board. Not a very common board that I would argue, but honestly, it's like it's good enough for stage 4 that you're gonna get by. We have the damage from the Ezreal, we have the tank from the Nunu. Honestly, all is fine and dandy. Going into the boon as well here, we are going to get Cryogenic Hex and Blessing Speed. It's not even close, by the way. Cryogenic Hex, I believe this might be one of the strongest combat boons right now currently. This is just, especially if you have a strong tank, like you have Galio for mech, if you have like my Nunu 2, if you will, right? It's just so strong. Here I end up, I think I took the Gnar here, which I kind of regret. I think I should have actually taken the Pantheon instead, because maybe I could have gotten some Timebreaker value eventually. Just because I know Pantheon eventually wants to be on the board here. But when I was looking at the numbers, I think the bump from 3 to 4 snipers is honestly so low that I honestly just could not justify it. So I think I play around with the board a little bit here, but I end up just going like, you know what, this is probably just gonna be the best that I can do. Let's just time a tank item here and call it a day. So we do have the glove and tier going. Oh, sorry, not the tank item, excuse me, the Cryogenic Hex. With the Cryogenic Hex onto the Nunu as well here. So the Nunu is just super beefy now. So there's just like no way anyone is gonna like fuck me up completely for like the rest of the stage. It's just impossible. And also on top of the fact that because we took Yasuo twice this game, we are gonna end up with the Yasuo Blessing, which is just gonna make our Nunu even stronger. It just buffs the hexes even further. So honestly, this spot fucking fantastic, and I think the way that we got here was actually really interesting. Did high roll a bit on the stage 4 too, I ain't gonna lie. In like 20 gold, I found a Nunu 2 out of like fucking thin air, popped out of my ass, I ain't gonna lie. But I also was willing to play the Meepsy, but then I found the Maokai, which was gonna be the original tank anyway, right? We were flexing, all right? There was a thought process there, and if you're gonna be in my comments, yeah, this guy high rolled the fucking bit, come on. Like, we actually, like, come on, there's some thought into it, right? We were gonna play Maokai 2 instead of the Nunu. It would have been just as good. Anyways, going into here, you can see I actually reforged here. And I think I reforged, what did I reforge here? I reforged the tier here. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm like, okay, cool, I could get a Last Whisper here, but maybe I could get something else on top of the Last Whisper. That makes a lot of sense here. And so I'm like, cool. Bow chain is the first one, and anything with a bow is honestly good enough. So I wanted to try my luck a little bit further and push a little bit more to see what else I could get that was offered with a bow. So we end up rolling here. This is like multiple TGs, but nobody good to TG. I got a bow and I got a bow and a belt here, and I'm just thinking, oh my god, this is fantastic. We got a Last Whisper and we get a Strikers on top. So our item economy, wow, fantastic. It ain't the best. Again, like flat AD is kind of like the ideal here. You do want like a Deathblade somewhere, but it's good enough. It's gonna get the job done. And honestly, as long as we keep pushing our tempo and scaling, we will eventually get there. So honestly, this is still a very solid spot to be in. Again, playing around with the units, trying to put the Riven in, trying to put the Karma in, and I'm just like not satisfied with any of them. I just think that like this is just gonna be the better version, and we're just gonna go straight to 9 after this round. Very straightforward stuff. So as you can see here, because we also tried to make sure that we got the Yasuos early, we have just like fucking like glorious hexes that are like really strong. We also have the Ezreal 3, which is just super strong. It's just been scaling this whole time, and we level here just to put in the Riven. And like I'm not gonna roll here. I think the reality is that I definitely could have rolled here and rolled for like 1 Jhin, but I think because I have so much HP here and I want to try to win out the lobby, that I actually do my best to make sure that I don't dip below 20 here, and I just actually just like sit because I just want to see like how strong my board is currently compared to the rest of the lobby. And for stage 5, to be completely honest with you, I think this Ezreal 3 is like, it has been stacking the whole time. I've been streaking this whole time. It is so unbelievably strong here. So I do think that at this point, especially with Timebreaker pumping me 2 XP per round, it's just so easy for me to just keep getting stronger and stronger. Then we eventually find, by the way, the Blitzcrank, which is such a strong unit. By the way, it's probably one of the strongest 5 costs if you can actually itemize them properly. So Spot's looking good. We actually naturaled the Jhin as well. I don't think I registered. I don't remember that happening, that I just naturaled it. But I naturaled the Jhin. But I don't know if Jhin 1 is better than Samira 2 with 3 items with 3 Space Groove in. Not that 3 Space Groove actually does anything for her in particular, just because 3 Space Groove buffs all of the Space Groove units. But Space Groove 1 buffs the only Space Groove unit. So just, you get my drift. Anyways, I find the Deathblade here, so I'm just like, cool, this is pretty solid, and I'm just gonna throw this onto the Jhin for now. I think looking back on it, I could have put this on the Ezreal instead, but I will say though, the Ezreal's been stacking so much at this point that I do think that even without the Deathblade, it's probably gonna be fine, which is a crit build at this point. So I'm just gonna keep it on the Jhin for now and eventually itemize him as the game progresses, which is going to be fantastic for me. And as you can see here, our board is still clearing. We are 4 Sniper, 4 Vanguard, and again, 4 Sniper is like nothing to write home about, but considering how efficient we've been with our economy this whole time, it's just like a really easy way for us to eventually get to level 10 this game. That being said as well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to roll just because Jhin was actually surprisingly contested this lobby. There's somebody else who was actually playing Ezreal reroll, and if you notice throughout early stage 3, we actually saw that they both, there was an Ezreal 3 versus Ezreal 3 fight, and we happened to win it out. But that was also just something that I thought was really funny, that like Jhin was actually contested, because again, even though Jhin, I think with this like Timebreaker version is just like a little bit better, you can't play it every game. Like it really is like specific spots where you get to play it, and oof, just we get to actually beat out Jhin 2, which is just so good. But again, like it's one of those boards that isn't like too super common, I would say, but the fact that it was contested was just funny, so that's the only reason why we didn't roll a 9 for like Jhin 2. And that being said though, we got to just go straight to 10 instead, which honestly is just as good if not better. So going into the neutrals here, we end up getting like an Anvil plus Xayah 2 as well. I'm sorry, Xayah paired. Pop the Anvil, and I can't really tell what's better here. I didn't know if it was Gunblade or Kraken, to be completely honest with you. I think I ended up going with Gunblade just because it's like maybe just like a tad bit nice to just have a little bit of extra healing for like my Giga tanks, the front line. So I was just like, you know what, we'll just Gunblade the Jhin for now, call it a day. I don't know, to be completely honest with you, if Deathblade, Gunblade, Riven is going to be stronger than this Jhin, but honestly, I think it's probably good enough. Little bit of poor positioning on my end, I will admit that. The Kane, or the Rost, excuse me, is able to like wrap onto my Jhin here, but honestly it's still fine enough. We were able to get out, and I believe here we level and we end up rolling here, find the Jhin, the Vanguard 2, or excuse me, the Blitz 2, and I think we're rolling here specifically just to look for like just for like any sort of like upgrades, if you will. And so I think in this point the set is still pretty new to me in my head, so I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I keep 3 Timebreaker in, maybe I do yada yada yada, but this isn't like necessarily the best. Like I think I could have just like tapped out with like legendaries instead. The reason I dropped to 3 Sniper and I decided like, you know what, maybe I'm just gonna try and do like this like Timebreaker like brawler stuff is because when I think about my board state, I do agree that like 4 Sniper is like not that great, so I think it's just like one of those things that like isn't that important. But also like 3 Timebreaker gives the whole board 25% attack speed, which is super nice to have. So I'm just thinking, you know what, I have the Riven on the board already, I have the Ezreal on the board already, they both make a lot of sense. And if I have the Pantheon on the board, then I might as well just have like Pantheon plus like whatever, like a brawler, if you will, and I have Tahm Kench on, who isn't like a great addition, to be completely honest with you, but it's good enough that I'm not like distraught about the fact that I have this Tahm Kench on my board, because it's just an extra like beefy boy who's just gonna be able to soak up damage. But that is basically going to be all she wrote, I believe, because I do think that this final fight, I sped it up a little bit here, but I do think we end up winning out. And overall, game itself plays itself super easy, and we Mr. 100, one of the first games that we played of the new set. So I hope this VOD review was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this video. I haven't done one of these in a long time, so if you have any like feedback or questions or whatever, leave it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. But until next time, take care guys, and happy climbing. Oh shit, my shirt is my shirt inside out? Oh shit.